is there any way that you can just within the DraftKings game itself, when you're building the roster of 6 drivers, is there any way that you can stack drivers together? Like, can you stack teammates together if you think that, hey, the track might be a bit slick because it was misty out earlier and they haven't canceled the race? Well, these guys all perform generally better. Their tires are better when the track is a little bit slicker. Like, is there any stacking method that you can do to at least find some correlation in your lineups, or does that just not exist?
Yeah, oh, definitely. You can stack teammates, like you said, especially at tracks like Daytona or Talladega, where a lot of teamwork takes place because we have the draft and these guys are drafting with each other to try to go as fast as possible. So teamwork really comes into play at the super speedways, Daytona and Talladega. That said, for the Daytona 500, it's going to be every man for himself at the very end. But there are other tracks where it might be an engine manufacturer. Maybe the Fords have found an advantage at a certain track or certain type of track. So they'll have an advantage for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, or 3 or 4 tracks within a couple month time frame. So there are definitely ways to stack. And also just, you want to make sure you look with correlations. If you think driver A is going to lead a race or dominate a race, that means it's going to reduce the likelihood that certain other drivers might not dominate a race. So there's anti-correlation there as well. So even though 2 drivers could be like optimally played 33%, you don't want to play them 33% with each other. You want, the lineups that have Joey Logano, you want to bump, let's say Martin Truex Jr. down to 20%, and then the lineups that don't have Joey Logano, you want to bump Martin Truex Jr. up to 45% or something like that. So there are correlated and anti-correlated plays as well.
Jeff, have you found that the track crossover and the track correlation is a real thing? Because this is a debate we get into with course history in golf. Does it exist, or is it just something that pops out in your mind? Because if you see one guy, he won back-to-back years here, like he might miss the cut the next 8 years at the course. It could have just been 2 isolated one-off years, because you only see it once a year, that, it's a very small sample, it's a very micro sample, that it might not be telling you exactly what you think. But do you think that there's enough long-term data to see either track history or correlated track history with drivers?
I do think there's enough long-term data, especially with certain track types, that, again, you're seeing some of the veterans we've seen, these guys racing on these tracks 2 times a year for 10 years. Sometimes as well, you'll get guys like Kyle Busch who will run in the Xfinity series. So it's not like, if you're new to this, it's not like having a pro baseball player then go play AAA. Like, he doesn't do that. I'm going to play a AAA game in the afternoon, then I'll be up here in the big leagues for the night game. It doesn't work that way, but you can do that for Xfinity. You can run the trucks races as well. So we'll get a lot of different data points on these guys. So I don't think it's the same thing. And just to add to the stacking, there's other stacking techniques as well. We talk about dominators, guys who are going to lead the race. Keep in mind, pay attention to how many laps the race is. Like, state the obvious, but sometimes the obvious needs to be stated. There's a lot of laps. There's a lot of points up for grabs in terms of laps led. 0.45 points per laps led. Fastest laps is 1/4 of a point per fastest lap. So that really, as Nick said earlier, starts to accumulate. So you can stack dominators with place differential guys. Sometimes people will stack based on the starting grid as well. The old 3-2-1 formula. So 3 drivers from 30 to 40, 2 drivers from 20 to 30, and then 1 driver from 10 to 20. On certain tracks, you can do that. Basically it's an entire place differential lineup where you're not as worried about dominator points. So Daytona could be a place where that would be in play, possibly Talladega as well. Again, adjusting those stacks though, and it's not as, if you're just no stacks from football, it's not like you're stacking just teammates here. You're actually stacking based on their position on the grid.